Strategy guide for you. We'll be schooling you as a master in the fragadelic arts with our graduate school for Quake players. And those evil mitochondria are back in our preview of the sequel to Parasite Eve. The cinematic cutscenes are sure to get your cells mutating. And Lauren Fielder shows us a music game for Konami that's all the rage in Japan. It's Guitar Freaks for the PlayStation, and it takes air guitar to a whole new level. Stick around. It's game time. Hello and welcome to this edition of GameSpot TV. I'm Adam Sessler. Now, there are more than a few music games out for the PlayStation. There's Parappa the Rapper, where you get to play as a cute little 2D dog whose songs get stuck in your head. Then there's MTV's Music Generator, where you get to make your own tunes. And then there's Bust a Groove, where you get to shake your booty to some hip beats. But this next title lets you be a rock star in a whole new way.
Hi, I'm Lauren Fielder. Now, whether you're into games or not, you can probably tell this isn't a PlayStation controller. Well, actually it is if you're playing Konami's game Guitar Freaks. We're going to tell you about. It was out in the arcades in Japan. Now it's out on the console system, the PlayStation, in Japan, but it's not coming to the U.S. What it's about is that you have several tracks of music to choose from. You've got surf music, punk music, heavy metal, some cute little tunes, and you have to play the guitar in sync with the tracks being shown on the screen. If you do so successfully, then you get new tracks to play.
You're the greatest!
You can play as a novice, you can play intermediate, or you can play as a guitar pro, and I think we have one right behind me. How you play the game is that you choose your song, then you coordinate your left hand to the tracks being shown, to the chords being shown. If you're seeing a red chord, then you press red. If you're seeing blue, blue, green, green. The game's definitely inspired by, or perhaps will remind gamers of games like Parappa, where you have to use controls to in sync with what's being shown on the screen to successfully get through a song. So we have 3 words for Konami. What's the deal? We love this game. You have to bring it out to the U.S.
If you really want to see Guitar Freaks in the U.S., well, you'd better email Konami and demand some satisfaction. And by the way, if you're looking for a music game that is available in the U.S., come to the GameSpot TV website, where you'll find other games that will help you get a groove on, including Space Channel 5. But now, let's check the game news. In this week's game news, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer is headed for the Dreamcast. LucasArts says an enhanced version of the popular racing title will be available this spring. Origin has officially closed their Ultima 9 Ascension message boards. The bulletin boards were originally set up to discuss the buggy game's technical issues, give hints, and post solutions. Origin says the latest patch cures Ultima 9's ills, and the company would like to focus their resources to further develop future titles. Square recently held their Millennium event in Japan. The company showed off Final Fantasy IX for the PlayStation and Final Fantasy X and XI for the PlayStation 2. While the details of Final Fantasy XI are not yet known, it was announced that it will be an online-only RPG. Square also unveiled plans for their new internet gaming software, dubbed Play Online. The Japanese release date for Final Fantasy IX is this summer, while 10 and 11 are set for release in the spring and summer of 2001. No word yet on the U.S. release dates for the titles. If you're looking for the latest news from the gaming world, go to the GameSpot.com website. Coming up on GameSpot TV, we just can't stay away from the undead, but perhaps these unwieldy zombies should stay in their crypts. We have a review of Zombie Revenge for the Dreamcast. And there are huge hunks of steel on the horizon in our PC preview of Metal Fatigue. Welcome back. Now, when pretending to be a big robot, you may have felt the urge to tear off another robot's mechanical arm and beat them with the wiry end. Well, something along those lines is possible in this upcoming game. In the world of real-time strategy games, more has not always translated into better. Nonetheless, Psygnosis has discounted such advice for their compelling new title, Metal Fatigue. The game puts you in the driver's seat for one of 3 corporate nations, or corporations, who are vying for alien technology found on several worlds. While the game does have its structure building, resource gathering, and ground combat, it has more, like big customizable robots called combots. One of the more pleasant aspects of the game is that when you're hacking, shooting, and hammering other combots, their parts come off. You can then pick them up and fight with the new abilities. The transferable components allow you to customize your own combot, and the game seems balanced enough to prevent the dreaded optimum designs. The game has only 2 resources: metajoules gathered from sunlight and lava pools, and manpower, which is always available as long as you have new crew quarters and can thaw out your people as they are frozen during travel. The AI for the game is being designed by the legendary Mark Baldwin, and it looks to be good, if not better, than many of the top games in this genre. And the look of the game is something to see. So get ready to stay awake when Metal Fatigue is released this year.
Another nice feature of Metal Fatigue is a pre-build phase to start construction with your existing resources and have them ready before the scenario starts, something most real-time strategy fans will appreciate. But appreciation is pretty hard when it comes to this next game. You think after Code Veronica previews that anything undead is a winner. Think again.
Zombie Revenge is a near-perfect arcade port of the side-scrolling beat-em-up with a few exclusive home-only features. Does this make it more than a gussied-up arcade port? Not exactly. You play one of 3 characters who all perform roughly the same, with slight variations in their hand-to-hand combat. This translates to them all performing equally as bad as one another. The biggest problem is the control. Given that you are pitted against an unfair number of opponents, you'd like to move a little faster, even if they are the slouching undead. The Y button controls hand-to-hand combat and suffers from the worst canned animation possible, meaning that you're trapped watching the animation until you can point her in the right direction. So why not run from battle? That would be good if the button to run wasn't the same as the block button. You can only run when you're in motion and press X, but if you time it wrong, you can end up standing still in a block. This would be easier to handle if the A button was even used. Zombie Revenge is also a painful exercise in repetition, with each zombie absorbing 10 to 15 shots that can't be fired all that fast. Yes, the game comes with an original mode filled with neat little gimmicks, but that just means it's a severely flawed game with a severely flawed extra mode. But the game looks pretty good. James Melky from VideoGames.com gives it a 5.7 out of 10.
Game sequels have proven to be a mixed bag. Some improve upon the original, while others seem to cash in upon its former glory without appreciating what made them so good. And it's with that in mind that we throw Battlezone 2 on the grill.
Activision's Battlezone combined elements of real-time strategy and action to create a unique, intuitive, and fun hybrid. Unfortunately, sales were disappointing, and in what must have been an effort to make the sequel more marketable, developer Pandemic Studios attempted to fix something that wasn't broken. As a result, Battlezone 2 is a disappointing, dumbed-down version of its predecessor.
Roger that, Condor 5.
From the very beginning, it is clear that something isn't right. As you play, you are given conflicting orders and put in harm's way more than necessary. Then you're told to remain silent about your operations.
What was that thing?
That the campaign story is interesting enough to motivate you from mission to mission is a good thing, because Battlezone 2's missions themselves are often boring. Whereas Battlezone was entertaining precisely because of the sheer amount of control it put in your hands, Battlezone 2 is dull because it isn't as flexible. Early missions typically tell you what to do step by step and lack any of the base building and resource gathering that made the first game fun. Instead, you just follow your commander around and perform various small tasks and listen to reports of other, more interesting activities as they occur elsewhere in the field. Ultimately, by trying to appeal to some mythical mass market, the designers have neutralized the fast pacing and complex mechanics that made the first game so fun. As a result, the game is completely generic. Ron Doolin at GameSpot.com gives Battlezone 2 Combat Commander a rating of 6.6 out of 10.
If you want more tank action, come to the GameSpot TV website where you'll find the streaming video of our Battlezone 2 review. And if you have a quick review of your favorite game or a handy cheat code, send me a V-mail. If we use your V-mail on the show, you'll get this snazzy GameSpot TV t-shirt.
Coming up on GameSpot TV, there's more gore galore as we look at the role-playing horror title from Square, Parasite Eve 2. And still ahead, we have our definitive strategy guide for Quake fans. There won't be one player left unfragged. You can master these tips.
Welcome back. While horror-oriented console games are usually dominated by zombies, there have been exceptions like Silent Hill and another title from last year, Parasite Eve. Well, the sequel to the game has arrived in Japan, and we got an early look at this next chapter of biological terror.
The original Parasite Eve was an attempt to blend a role-playing game with action-adventure elements that many found to be an unsuccessful hybrid. The sequel will, for the most part, dispense with the majority of the RPG elements to focus on the action-adventure elements, bringing it more in line with the Resident Evil series. The sequel takes place shortly after the end of the first, with you still playing Aya, and the world still in the grip of an epidemic that causes people's mitochondria to awaken with a vengeance and die, or, you guessed it, mutate into something more interesting to look at. The game once again uses pre-rendered backgrounds, but with an impressive amount of detail. As to be expected, the drama in the game is brought forth through the use of very intriguing camera angles. The battles in the game are now in real time, and you'll typically see your enemies before you have to engage them in combat. Switching targets will be controlled by the square button. Firing the weapons will be controlled by the right shoulder buttons, offering primary and secondary attack options. There are no longer levels to gain, but experience points can be earned to unlock the Parasite energy powers. Aya can also earn bounty points from killing enemies, which can then be traded in at convenient locations for armor or weaponry. The game will also feature multiple endings and new modes once completed. Though to enjoy that, it'll need to arrive here in the States, which should happen sometime this year.
There's definitely something about sequels this week. Our next review is the sequel to Mario Party, one of a handful of third-party games for the N64 last year that used characters from Nintendo's stable. So, is it another reason to invite friends over for root beer and graham crackers? Let's find out.
The sequel to Mario Party doesn't change the fundamentals of the original, but it's an attempt to improve upon what players liked about the original and trim back on what they didn't. And it's more than a partial success. The original and the sequel are the video game equivalent of board games, where players take turns rolling dice to move on the playing field. The object is to earn as many stars and coins as you can. The board is spotted with random characters that can help or hinder you in your quest. But it can get more complicated when you can acquire items for additional rolls of the dice, or when you hire a boo to steal coins from an opponent. This, mixed with other random elements, keeps the game in a good state of flux. But the heart of the game are the mini-games. They occur at the end of every round and at other special times. The mini-games involve keeping a chain chomp from waking up, or collecting coins thrown by a hammer brother. Sometimes you work with other players, but usually it's every man for themselves. Mario Party 2 has 40 new mini-games, with 24 returning from the original, and gladly, the most annoying ones have stayed away. While some of the less favored are still here, there are enough games that you don't have to play them all that often. Other nice changes are practice rounds for the mini-games so you can figure out what to do, and duel bouts between players who have landed on the same space. But in the end, the best part of the game are the mini-games, which you won't get sick of, giving the game way more replay value. And since the game's all about replay, that's good news. Joe Fielder from VideoGames.com gives it a 7.8 out of 10.
Ambition is good in most cases, and this next game is definitely a testament to ambition. It's D2 for the Dreamcast, and it's already available in Japan. So we ran over there and picked up a copy to show you this upcoming title.
D2 was originally conceived and partly developed for the ill-fated 3DO M2 console system, and it's now been in the works for over 3 years and has just recently been released to Japanese consumers. The 2 in the title would imply that it's a sequel, though it only bears a resemblance to its predecessor by holding on to the main protagonist, Laura. The game is an attempt to blend CG, full-motion video, real-time third-person adventure, and first-person shooters into one game. The game begins with Laura aboard a plane high above the Canadian mountains. Unfortunately, it gets hijacked, which causes a disruption. But things aren't over yet because there's a meteorite that blows a hole through one of the wings, making it crash. Then Laura finds herself in a frozen Canadian expanse with unpleasant beasties making things difficult for her. The game uses ample FMV sequences, interspersed with third-person perspective exploration using a Resident Evil-style control, and there's first-person combat. Battles occur randomly as you progress through the game, and you cannot move or strafe in combat and must keep the creatures in view using the X and B buttons, and then firing with the X. The game is very much driven by the story, and is spread over 4 discs, so prepare for D2's Chill when it arrives later this year.
Gotta watch that miracle grow. Well, if you want to check out the D2 preview again, it's up on our website, along with all the other previews from this week's show. And while you're at our site, you may want to let us know what upcoming title you just can't wait to get your hands on. D2, Seaman, Metal Fatigue. You can argue your case with other gamers on the GameSpot TV message boards.
Coming up on GameSpot TV, we revisit a rather bizarre title from Japan that's more of a science experiment than a game. And we go to Quake School to become masters in the art of the frag. Bring your Twitcher finger and your brain for our advanced Quake 3 Arena strategy guide.
Welcome back. Next up, we have a very strange God game that's making its way over the ocean from Japan, when we just don't know exactly. It's a title that might beg the question, is it okay to turn off my Dreamcast?
Hi, I'm Lauren Fielder. You might be wondering what's brewing in the background. It's Seaman, a Sega Dreamcast title that's out in Japan that you've probably heard something about. Japan-based Vivarium brought the game out earlier this year, and a lot of people started paying attention to it. You're raising a fish that has a man's face. What are you doing? You're talking to him. You're using the Dreamcast voice recognition system. You drop him in the aquarium. That's how you start out. And then things just happen. There's no manual. There are no rules. And what you put into it is what you get out of it. What you do is you use the controller to feed the Seaman to adjust the temperature of the water, and, well, things just start happening.
Eventually, when they start growing, you can teach them how to speak, and when you talk with them, they start conversing with you. 사귄 지 다음에요? The small fishes started hatching, and here they are swimming around in the aquarium. There you go. It started crying again. They're just newly hatched, so they're really curious.
And eventually you're going to have a lot of crazy little fishmen on your hands.
Yes. They really talk like human beings.
Sega is bringing the game out in the U.S. We're really excited about that. It's coming out the first quarter of the year 2000, so hopefully we'll see a lot of this in the future.
Some games make you want to sink into the couch, and others just make you want to get up and dance. Here's the intro to Space Channel 5.
こちらチャンネル5、スペースシップ遭難事故の行方不明者、最後の一人を発見しました。よく頑張ったな。もう一人じゃないぞ。
I just don't see it getting better than that. So, have you been using the same lame tricks over and over for Quake 3 Arena with no visible results? Well, our friends over at Computer Gaming World gave us a few doctorate-level strategies for your Quake 3 success.
So you spent the last couple of months improving at Quake 3 Arena, but feel you're getting into a rut. Does that one pesky player keep edging you out? Sounds like you need to go back to school for your MFA. That's a Master's of Fragadelic Arts. Chapter 1, Defense. Even though there are character models of all shapes and sizes, Quake 3 player models are bound by a box that is exactly the same for each. Therefore, choosing a skinny model will not decrease your chances of accruing damage. You can, however, reduce the hit area of your character by 75% by simply crouching. This technique can work in some instances, but reduces you to a painfully slow speed, making you an even easier target. The solution? Jump. Jumping and bounding adds another direction that your opponent has to aim, making you more difficult to hit. Speaking of jump moves, find a place you can continually bounce, then pepper your opponents below. This can be extremely effective with weapons such as the grenade or rocket launcher. If you've mastered the rocket jump, try doing it off a bounce pad and with quad damage. You will be performing tricks you've never thought possible. Chapter 2, Motion. One key piece of advice is to move, move, move. If there's anyone within sight, do not stop. One place novice players often get fragged is the momentary stick after landing an accelerator jump. To alleviate this and deke out your foe, hit and hold the jump key while in the air. This will cause a quick power slide with no sticking. Also, stay away from walls. A rocket blast against the wall next to you can be devastating, but with nothing to stop a near miss, the rocket keeps going. With this in mind, aim for your enemy's feet. A direct hit to the feet inflicts as much harm as a direct hit to the head. The final chapter, Dirty Little Secrets. If you're getting low on health or just need a little breather, find a place on each level where you can get a frontal view and not be surprised. Camp for a while, nab a few frags, grab some health and armor, then re-enter the action refreshed. But don't hang too long, since while you wait for someone to come by, your opponents are racking up frags. One last sneaky piece of advice, deprive the enemy of resources. How? As you approach an unused health, knock off a few of your own with a rocket blast, then eat up the icon. There will be nothing left for the person following you. It's a bit underhanded, but hey, it's do or die, right? So remember, move, jump, power slide, aim for the feet, and deprive. The Quake 3 Arena world is full of challenges, and graduating from this institution will take you far in this world. So study hard, practice often, and don't forget your advanced tactics.
Didn't take notes? Well, come to the GameSpot TV website to see our Quake 3 strategy guide in streaming video. You'll also find tips from the pros, including the Quake master himself, John Carmack. And don't forget to take our No Fear downhill mountain bike racing quiz for your chance to win a copy of the game and a Rincon mountain bike. You'll find details about the contest at our website. So until next week, bye-bye. I bit my tongue.